Okay, howdy IGCSE World Literature students, and we're here today to talk about the set text exam, which is in a few days for my guys. So for those of you who don't know me, just a quick hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Brown. I am an IGCSE and IB language and literature teacher at a big international school in Ho Chi Minh City, and we're here today to look at the set text exam for world literature, which is taking place in just a few days. So this is our last chance. And basically what we're going to do, we're going to go through a very quick step-by-step guide on how to get ready and how to perform on the day. We're going to try and cut through all of the mountains of things we can do and get to the point where we're focused and that we are focusing on what we need to do. So we're just going to jump into it today. I'm going to try and be quicker than my last couple of videos. Okay, so basically, there's two questions in the set text exam. And so the first one is the extract question. And they're going to give you an extract. They're going to ask you to read it, and they're going to ask you to analyze it quickly, and they're going to ask you to answer a question. Okay, so very basically, to prepare for this, I had my guys go through the book and pull out the 10 most important, most impactful pages that they could find that they think will be in the exam. And I think that's a good idea. You go through, you find the pages, and whatever pages you found, they should be highly impactful. They should tell us about the character. They should tell us about the settings. They should tell us about the themes. They should tell us about the symbolism. They should tell us about the imagery. They should tell us the skills that the author has been using and the messages. And if you practice looking at the best 5 to 10 pages, whatever they throw at you, you should be ready to go. Basically, what the question is looking for is how has the author made this such a impactful or powerful moment. So I would be looking at these awesome pages and practicing with something like, how does the author make this moment so powerful? Of course, the exam question might be a lot more specific than that, but as generally, they're looking for how has the author intended to get you to respond, and that's what we do in English literature exams pretty much all the time. So if you're practicing that, then you'll be ready. What I would do is I would look at those pages. If you can't do 10, at least do the 3 or 4 most important pages in the book. And I'd read a page, and then I would look to write a few quick paragraphs. I would go, what's the big, powerful, impactful, emotional effect that the author is trying to do? And then read through the paragraph, try to find the big ideas. He's trying to do certain things, trying to shock you, trying to position you to feel empathy, trying to get you to understand something, trying to entertain you. There's many different ways that it can become powerful and impactful. So go through, look for the ideas, and then highlight the quotations that go with it, and find techniques that you can talk about these ideas. So I would go through, find this is the big thing that the whole page does. Here's the first idea that it does. Here's a couple of little quotations that I want to use. And here's a few techniques that are happening in this moment. Next idea, here's a few quotations that I would put in. And here are the techniques that are being used in these quotations in this moment, and writing. And that's a good way for you to go through and prepare for that. It'll also help you prepare for question 2. We'll go a little bit deeper, but I'm trying to move a bit quicker today. So looking at question 2. Question 2 is the zoom out, the whole text planning kind of question. It's where we look at questions that relate to the whole book. Okay, so we're shifting to the big picture. What we should be looking for is asking what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So what's the big picture of this? My guys are looking at the set text. In the sea, there are crocodiles. And so what happens at the start of it? What happens in the middle? What happens at the end? This will tell us the themes that have been set up in the beginning, how they've been developed, and what happens at the end. Well, these are the issues that have been recurring. They're there at the beginning, the middle, the end. There's probably what they're going to ask you about. And in the sea, there are crocodiles. Things like resilience, things like immigration, things about friendship, things about survival. obviously beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so you can practice lots of things. I would take a very general question. Okay, so how does the writer explore themes throughout the text? And then I might sit down and practice one day, and that way I might just throw in one theme after another. The big themes of In the Sea There Are Crocodiles, it starts off with resilience, a paragraph or two, and I run through my ideas with quotations and with the techniques that work for that. The next theme might be family and the importance of family. And this way, I'm practicing that kind of general question. I'm running through lots of themes. Whatever comes up in the exam, maybe I've practiced that exact one, or I'm at least in a good rhythm of writing about theme. And then maybe I mix it up and I say, how does the writer explore global issues throughout the text? And then maybe I'll look at things like immigration is very big in the sea. There are crocodiles, and maybe I write about that, or other issues about law and justice, big issues. And so maybe I do a couple of practices during the week. I think you get the idea. So we've got two different kinds of questions. What you can do to prepare is obviously practice. The other thing that you want to be doing is mastering your quotations. Okay. And you're not going to be able to remember all of the quotations. I mean, if your set text is the collection of poems, you can remember a few of them. You probably can't remember all of them. Same with the short stories. That's a whole lot to remember. And even in a novel, you're not going to remember all of them. So try to choose maybe 5 to 7 at least five. But try to choose very versatile quotations, quotes that you can use in several different instances. If it's about resilience, here's a quotation that works for resilience, but it can also work for friendship and it can also work for immigration. It's a great quotation. So find quotations that you can link to multiple themes. Find the quotations that are memorable. Anyone who's read the book will have gone, yes, that's a great quotation. That stood out for me. It would stand out for anyone. Really shows that you engaged with the book. Find the quotations that really spark your personal response as well. Ones that where you felt something and the words meant something. That way you can talk about the diction, you can talk about the tone, you can talk about the connotations, you can talk about the emotional response. Very important. And then with your practice, always practice embedding these quotations and try it in different contexts. So as you're doing your practice of your big whole text question, you can trial it with different themes. You can trial them with different issues. So very good ideas for you to practice in the last few days. I'm sure you hopefully been doing practice already. Let's move on. One more thing while you're practicing to remember that will really help you is to think about your writing style. Okay, so in some of my other videos, I've talked about the thing that kind of holds people back in literary exams. They tend to go looking for exactly what the examiner wants, we know exactly what they want, and they end up coming up with shopping lists of all of these techniques they're looking for, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so you want to avoid writing shopping lists. You want to get into the idea of I'm looking for the answer to the question. I'm looking for what the author's intention was. I'm looking for how the reader was supposed to respond with this. And then I'm using embedded quotations, short, sharp quotations which say what you want to say, and language analysis. Use this kind of rhythm in your practice. The author's intention was to make you feel for the main character in this moment. He does this through the use of symbolism of mountains, the diction of the color choice being used, or the diction of cutting and sharp really makes you feel something. The connotation of these words brings out the emotion it's looking for. The tone of this passage is very serious and sad and even a bit nostalgic. So that language analysis, using little quotations that go with it as you're pulling the words out, you can use embedded quotations. That's the kind of language analysis that gets you to the top level. Go take it from the author's intention to the reader responded, feeling and thinking a certain way, and then in the end bring it to the big ideas that you have isolated and you want to talk about. Okay, so hopefully you're doing that. If not, some great tips for you to practice in the last couple of days before the exam. And on the day of the exam, your final game plan, I would be thinking about this before. How do I feel great on the day? How do I approach it in my practice? I would put the timer on and practice like I'm in the exam. But at least the night before, you want to do your last little practice. You want to review your quotations, but you don't want to be up all night. You want to get a really good night's sleep. And in the morning, you probably want to rehearse your quotations again, maybe say them out loud to someone to make sure they've stuck. Maybe you want to mind map the whole text question. What are those big themes and global issues and ideas, concepts from the beginning, the middle, and the end? But you don't want to be freaking out. You either know it or you don't. On the last day, you're not going to be able to cram it in. So try to relax. Do the work in the next 2 days, relax on the day, go in there and perform well. In the exam, my final idea would be make sure you zoom out first, look at the question, look at the extract, think about it, plan your response, don't just dive in. And also in your response, focus on the emotional and thematic responses before you zoom in to the quotations and the techniques. You want to, in my opinion, respond with the ideas, the author's intention, the reader's response before you dive into the 100 quotations that you could pick out of the extract and all of the technical stuff. Okay, so we've run a little bit long again. I can't help myself. I love to talk. But in the final message here, my guys, I know you've got this. We've done a lot of work over the last year and a half, and I know that you're ready. Do the last 2 days of work, and your future self will thank you. The overall message of this has been work smarter, not harder. So pick those things that are really going to get you the best value and practice in that way. Make sure you zoom out first and respond personally. Look for the intentions, look for the response before diving in and just giving us the techniques you think we're looking for. Make sure you do back up your ideas with quotes. If you cannot remember your quotations, give us the examples. Yeah, make sure. Don't go, I have no quotation, I give up. Really paint us the picture. What was going on in that part of the text that made you think this or feel this or react in this way? Okay, do the work and you'll be ready on the day. Again, I've gone quite a bit over time, but that happens. Hopefully, this has been really helpful and good luck for the World Literature Set Text exam. Thank you for listening.